4 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, day in, day out, and still have no resources. And for me to work, do the same, and just want a different life.
So, long story short, you wanted a different life and lifestyle than he was able to provide. And so you said, you know what, this, I'm out of here. I need more money.
I was selfish and took advantage of a real unfortunate situation, which was he loved me and David unconditionally, completely unconditionally. And when you love someone like that, you really accept their flaws and you accept less than what you should. So really, I should have been a better wife. Every time we saw each other, like, you knew that was your soulmate, right?
Wow,
I mean,
so he was your soulmate?
it's hard because I knew how he still felt about me.
He just loved you.
He really did.
And you broke his heart. Oh, don't cry, Tip.
I really believe that I am who I am today. I am the wife that I am to Lewis because I knew what it felt like to be loved so unconditionally.
Yeah. Wow. At least you can be honest and own your truth. I will applaud you 10 hands and toes down for that. Because there will be people who will not sit here and admit, I wanted more money and a better lifestyle.
So yeah, you heard the clip. Interesting perspective. I can kind of see both sides, but I'll let you lead off with the first question. Is it right to leave your significant other for money? Then there's like a part 2, how much money is enough per month? But you can answer that as you see fit. I can't hear you. Hold on. I don't think you unmute yourself. Yeah.
So I would first say that it's not right to leave your significant other just because of money. However, I had an English teacher, great, profound English teacher by the name of Robert Williams, who used to have this saying. He said, "Romance without finance is non-chance." Um, Basically, in a nutshell, it's one of those situations where money and finances is something that needs to maybe be discussed or talked about before you take that further step into actually saying marriage. Because marriage is supposed to be for better or worse, for rich or for poor. We all tend to jump into that marriage realm just based off of love. You know, I love him, I love her. You know, but you have to realize that after the vows and after the rings and after everything else comes real life. And so what you accept or what you're willing to accept when you say I do, you should be willing to understand that this is the case in point, you know, after the fact. But a lot of times, once you get past those original I do's, life gets real, you know. And so that's kind of what I think happened with this lady. It was kind of like it was all love, and you know, love was all good, but she wasn't looking at the bigger picture of, you know, are we struggling, are we working, you know, we're both working jobs, like she was kind of saying, and it just wasn't the lifestyle that she wanted. But the kind of lifestyle that you want is something that should be discussed before you guys even get to the point of going with the I do's, because it needs to be in the game plan that we're working towards this. We're going to do this. There should be timelines that you guys have planned on how long you think you're going to do it. There should be a plan. There should be, you know, goals, investments. All that stuff has to be set up and thought about and planned out if you want to reach a certain lifestyle. And I feel like she should have had maybe a little bit more patience with her husband, because sometimes, you know, it takes time to get to the point where you're financially free. And if that's the case, then she should have had money or the financial freedom as a part of the goal for what she wanted, you know, before getting married. Make sense?
True. Yeah, it does make sense. So yeah, I agree that it is wrong to leave for money. Granted, like you said, there should be a conversation prior, because you can set expectations. going into a relationship as well, on things that you require or that you expect to happen at a certain point as well. Because sometimes when we put those conversations to the side because, you know, we have the love goggles on, or we just choose to ignore it, when those situations pop up and you've never talked about them before, you know, the outcomes definitely can be hurtful to the other person, especially you know, divorce and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. The other part of that question was how much is enough per month, in your opinion?
Now, I know people are going to have different views on this, and I'm kind of
Yeah,
curious as what some of the others are going to say when they see this.
yeah.
But being as you know, from the coming from the perspective of the man in the relationship,
Hmm.
I've been married now for about 9 years.
Hmm.
Seems like we've been married forever at this point. But
Congrats.
as the man and as the husband in the relationship, I feel like enough money or how much money should definitely be you should at least be working towards having enough to at least cover the majority of the bills is
Hmm.
what the man needs to be doing. If he can, he should be trying to cover all the bills. But I know that times are different. These days
Hmm.
it takes two households in order to pay because the price of everything has gone up. But that man should be striving to set his wife into a position where there should not be over concern of will bills be paid. That's kind of what the wife looks for. The wife looks for knowing that she's good. She looks for looking knowing that knowing that her man has her. So if you're not working at least towards that position where she can be comfortable or where she can relax and knowing that she's covered, then what's going to happen is she then has to keep a lot of the bulk or extra stress on herself because now she's concerned about bills. And when she has to be concerned about bills in that manner, she can't be comfortable. And it's a lot easier for those feelings to change, or it's a lot easier for the next guy to pop up and shine some shiny things and maybe catch her attention
Mm, true.
because
Hmm.
she's not comfortable in the fact that she has to worry about bills and stress about bills, and she can't really be a woman in that manner because she's have trying to handle a bulk or handle a portionable size. So
Hmm.
that kind of makes what the other guy has look more interesting. If guy pops up and tells her, "I can take you on vacations, I can do this and do that, and pay this and pay for that," and you have to worry about nothing. It's hard to get that off a woman's mind that you ain't got to worry about nothing. So
That's
therefore
true.
is so therefore is my job to do as much as I can to where she ain't got to worry about nothing. And sorry for the
That's true.
grammar, but that's that. I have to put it into context for you.
No, you kept it real. You kept it real. I appreciate that. But that lends to the next question. Before we go to that, um, I would say, in my opinion, I kind of lean towards this one financial advisor, Dave Ramsey. Not sure if you're familiar with him, but he says, you know, your expenses, at least for like home and things like that, it should be 50% and less of your take home pay. So for me, in terms of like per month, as long as you can take care of your rent or mortgage, whatever your situation is, and the bulk of your expenses with less than half of your, you know, your check per month or income, then you know that's the one thing I aspire to. But yeah, the point you made is very true. The flashy lights, flashy things, I can take that load off your back. That appeal sometimes when you're in financial straits, it can be alluring, especially to the other person. So we do have another guest to come up. Mikhail, are you ready? All right. So we're gonna bring him up. 1 second. All right. Welcome, Mikhail.
Hey, y'all.
What's
Thanks.
up?
Hey, David.
All right. So
Thanks for
welcome
having
to
me.
the stream. Thanks for tapping in. Did you get to see the first video?
No, I did not.
You didn't. Okay. So I'll give you the gist. Let me just kind of jump into. Let me play part of it again, real quick. Jump.
And I saw him work all of the time. It's one thing to like work and work and work from like 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, day in, day out, and still have no resources. And for me to work, do the same, and just want a different life.
So, long story short, You wanted a different life and lifestyle than he was able to provide. And so you said, you know what, this, I'm out of here. I need more money.
I was selfish and took advantage of a real unfortunate situation, which was he loved me and David unconditionally.
So yeah, that's a brief synopsis. So she was with somebody she professed was her soulmate, but she wanted a different lifestyle. And the first question to open up is it right to leave your significant other because of money?
Yes and no.
Okay.
No on the front that uh, if you did not have the conversation, did you take the time out to discuss, hey, this is what I need or require in order for this relationship to feel comfortable? And again, if this is on the premise that the the lady is gonna say, "Oh, this is what I need," but the man is saying, "This is not what I'm able to provide," then that puts her in a position to say, "Am I willing to move forward with this? Or, if this is something that I'll be able to um, tap into for a specific period of time just to see if, I can be able to support, if I'll be able to assist, if I'm able to, have this kind of work out briefly, if we can actually see a light at the end of the tunnel." On the other front, if no conversation is had and these are kind of like unspoken agreements, then she puts herself in a position for resentment and he in a position for, I'm doing everything that I can. Why wouldn't she wait for me, until
true.
I get myself together? There was no agreement made explicitly. So everybody's trying to figure out, why would she leave me? And she's like, why would he not, step his game up?
Yeah. So there's the conflict. There's the like you said, the comfort versus expectation, and the conversation is the most important thing to be had prior.
That's supposed to be at the forefront.
Very much
having
so.
the dialogue, because I think that's what happens with a lot of relationships. They're like, "Oh, I love him," or she loves me, but they aren't willing to set this aside and say, "Okay, apart from love, are these other aspects in alignment with what is needed for the relationship to thrive?" And so that financial aspect would have been a very salient conversation to have, to say, okay, these are my expectations. And he was like, okay, this is what I'm doing to get to this goal. I am not able to get there yet. What can you do to help me get there? And if she's willing to chip in and say, okay, this is what I can do for a certain amount of time, then he'll be able to see, okay, what resources do I have in my bag that I can do to kind of build it up? And again, Rome is not built in a day. And we're not saying that we're expecting perfection, but at least to an a greater extent, we're expecting progress. You see what I'm saying? So if progress is not happening as quickly as we expect, then she needs to kind of reevaluate. And again, they need to check in if they've made an agreement. Check in at a specific time to say, okay, we've gotten to this point. We said we were going to get here by a certain point. Where are we now? And if we aren't there, how can we reevaluate these expectations to say, okay, we are able to still move forward with the relationship, or this is something that I cannot wait for any longer.
That's true. That's fair. It all stems from, like you said, conversation. Because like I was saying to David prior to you coming on, sometimes we ignore it, like you alluded to, especially with the love goggles. It's like, oh, it'll work itself out.
Exactly.
And then when those roadblocks come, it's like, what do we do now? And
so in that case, no. But yes, if we've had these conversations,
exactly,
and you've decided, oh well, she said she's gonna do this, but I'm not going to do anything to ensure that I'm able to withhold or to uphold my end of the bargain. And that's something that's happening perpetually. If she comes to you and says, hey, we've been having this conversation and I realize that nothing is happening, nothing is progressing, and you've given a little more time for that to unfold. It's not an ultimatum, because again, ultimatums don't work. You're giving them an opportunity to say, will I be able to see progress? Well, if that doesn't come to the fore, then she has an opportunity to say, okay, I am willing to tap out.
Yeah. Understood.
Oh boy.
You made your notes. Go ahead, David.
Oh, I was just loving the comments. I love it. I love it. Look, in the words of great relationship counsel Drake, she knew what it was when she signed up.
She knew what it was.
but but no. But honestly, so on one end, we look at her leaving for money, but we may have to take a deeper look maybe into the context of her conversation. It may not necessarily be the money per se, as much as it was like she was saying. She, she was seeing that he was working all the time and she was working all the time, and yet it wasn't giving her the lifestyle that she wanted. And I
Gotcha.
think maybe more so, it was maybe the freedom that she was looking for, like the ability to do more things. However, money is what is looked at as what's going to be the bigger fix. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if she left for money just to realize that a lot is missing after she left to get the money.
True.
Because it probably wasn't necessarily the money as much as it was her wanting to spend more time with somebody and not be working all the time.
Fair
But money
point.
doesn't necessarily fix that problem, because you can have more money and still be having to work all the time in order to keep it. So, kudos to her. I hope she found whatever it was she wanted. But I'm like, yeah, she wrong for that.
I want to ask.
One second, Mikhail. This actually segues to our second question perfectly. What makes the perfect relationship? Lifestyle versus longevity. You kind of started it on it. Go ahead, Mikhail. Continue.
That's why I wanted to ask. Since she decided that, well, she's working, he's working, they're both working all the time. What's her income like? That is she having a certain income that doesn't give her the freedom? He doesn't have a certain work opportunity that gives him that equal freedom. So is she expecting him to foot her bill?
Yeah, that's a variable we don't know.
Because if both of them are not working, if both of them are working in a way that both of them can't see each other at all.
Like our schedules clash, essentially. Yeah. That's a good point.
Right.
So no one has any freedom whatsoever. So at this point,
we don't see each other. Yeah, we're just revolving.
Yeah. That's you know what? I like that question. I'm gonna throw another question on top of that.
Go ahead.
What you doing, Ma? Like, if he's bringing home money, or he's making enough, or he's not making enough, and if she's not making enough, well, what are you doing to help the financial situation? You are still shopping every day. You still getting your hair done $200-300 every couple weeks. You still got new shoes in the closet. What are you doing to help the situation, to help that money get where it's gonna get? While she's not liking the lifestyle, like because a lot of times when it comes down to it, I think every marriage at some point, especially in the beginning, things start off maybe kind of rocky because you kind of have to get things together. A lot of times you're left paying for weddings, you're paying for a home, you're paying for this, that, and the other, and so you have to work together in order to get that thing rolling. So is she helping build, or is she putting just as much or taking just as much away, to the point where him and what he's making isn't enough?
True. Yeah, that's a very good point. I'd say, especially nowadays in the social media era, this, like, we're always comparing the lifestyle. I don't know her point or her viewpoint, like what Mikhail was saying, but at least in the social media era we live in, everybody is comparing. Oh, they got this, they're doing this, they're going there. Like, why can't I have that? So that want for more can creep it into your relationship. And in that situation, we could just say she left because she wanted a different lifestyle that unfortunately he couldn't afford her, because the type of career or the time that was required to make that money. So we don't know the under workings of that. But yeah, those are very good points. The time, your schedule, and things of that nature.
So to answer your question, for lifestyle versus longevity, I would say if you're working towards longevity, I think the lifestyle will reveal itself.
Yeah, you'll make. Yeah, well, explain that to me. Explain that to the audience.
So what happens is, if we're working as a team, because I think, you know, it's almost as though sometimes many relationships is always about, oh, me and you, but they don't necessarily feel like the relationship is a union, like we are in this together. Right? They're feeling me and you from this love perspective, but they're not feeling this connectedness and this idea of wanting a partnership in other aspects of life. So when we talk about this idea of longevity, we're working as a team to ensure that it's us against the world.
True.
It's us against the financial situation. It's us against, you know, getting what we want or where we want to be, or mutual goals and aspirations. You have your separate goals and aspirations. He has separate goals and aspirations. But when you come together, what are our goals and aspirations as a couple? And so with that being said, if we are working towards having this work for the long haul, then we would be putting strategies in place as a team to get the lifestyle to where we want to be. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if it means investing, if it means, okay, we're putting money aside to take vacations, if it means we are putting money in a certain bank account to ensure that all the bills are paid, those things are working together as a team. If it means that, oh, we're not really good with numbers, so let us hire an outside accountant to ensure that with this money in-house is right. These small but salient things contribute massively to the bigger picture.
True.
And so in the end, as a couple, we're able to say, we're able to afford this, and we're able to live comfortably, and we're able to elevate, and we're able to upgrade as we so desire.
That's true. We're better. Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. Anything on that, David?
I'm just gonna agree. I agree with my guy fully. I agree. We often hear it spoken about when we talk in terms of marriage. We hear the two become one. The two become one. This unity and things of that nature. But a lot of times it's not actually put into application. You know, she still has hers. He still has his. She has her goals. He has his goals. She has her plans. He has his plans. She has her account. He has his account. Does if you have to bring those things together, you have to be on one accord. You have to be, what I'm saying, united front, or like he was speaking, a team. If you work together as a team, and if it's more of a we and what we can do and how are we gonna do it, and our money and our goals, and it just works together a lot smoother. When you have two separate entities working in two different directions, it's gonna be a lot harder, and that a lot of times leads to the rip. Because if you're pulling one way and not pulling the other way, it's just like just like putting tension on a piece of cloth. It's gonna tear. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. We come together for the wedding day, and after that, you're going after what you want. I'm going after what I want. And if those things aren't joined, or if those things, aren't together, at the same plan, then it's not going to work out. Or you're going to have a lot of trouble and a lot of tension. And, in the meantime, or the whole time, which is why I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of marriages don't last long at this point, because the mindsets aren't in the same direction.
Now, what I do not want
So I agree.
You got a point, Mikail?
No, I just wanted to clarify also that we're not talking about codependency. All right. There's a fine line with this unity. We're not saying we want people to merge so that their lives are like, there are no individual people in this thing. We don't want people to be like merging their lives together. Everything is for everybody. Everybody's putting the same thing in the same pot. What we're saying is the woman can have their life. The man can have their life, meaning that they are individuals. This is the reason why they were attracted to each other, because they were so different. You see what I'm saying? So if they're keeping that, they have their dreams, their goals, but at the same time, they're coming together to form the couple's dreams and goals, right? So I'm not saying that, we're not asking anyone to not have their dreams or not have their aspirations as individuals. They have those things, but when it's the coming together as a couple, we want to make sure that we are on the same page, right? To make sure that, okay, you have your own bank account, they have their own bank account. However, with that, we're going to create an account where we are able to
contribute
pour into that, yes, and create something for us.
That's true. Well, just to clarify for the audience, at least, so codependency is an excessive emotional and psychological reliance on a partner. So coming together isn't the problem. I'm just supporting your point. It's just the excessive, the over reliance on the other person. So yeah, just to clarify for the audience.
What we don't want is each person to lose their sense of self because of that excessiveness, right?
True.
So
you should still have an identity of your independent self. Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about in terms, especially when we are trying to break these generational curses of what people have done in the past. We want to move forward in which we are promoting and soliciting healthy relationships. And so this unity of which I speak is not codependency, but everybody having their equal sense of self, but coming together to really fortify that. How about that? You know,
True.
you pour into me, I pour into you. Yeah. And in that way, we are really creating a much more steady fortress. And so when we move forward together, it's even more powerful because us as individuals coming together are able to, you know, make things shake.
All right, great conversation so far, guys. I'm going to highlight some of our comments so far. Loving the convo. So we have Gabrielle, she tapped in. She says, I think more people should have financial discussions before marriage. Very true. We touched on that. Then we have Carrie Ann. She says, yeah, I agree. Solid points. Many women fail to understand that we were made to multiply and amplify what is given to us. That's very true. Sometimes you have to remember the role that you have and the power you have in a relationship dynamic as well. Very good point. We have Justin Myers. He says, Instagram is a curse on modern relationships. What you see there isn't real. People are pressured to pursue a lifestyle that they can't actually afford, and resentment builds. Ooh, very, very good point. I'm going to
That's right on point.
For sure. Very good point, Justin. Thanks for dropping that. So yeah, let me see what else we have on this topic. So I had another question. We don't have to go through it in depth, but it was, can you love more than once? Because she said she was married and then got remarried to somebody else who provided the lifestyle, but the first person was her soulmate. So my question to the panel and audience is, can you love more than once?
Absolutely. I would like to debunk the idea of soulmate.
Okay.
The idea of, I mean, because look at how many billions of people are there in the world. And there is one person who could give you all that you want and something still went off and the relationship just did not work out. And then eventually over time you find someone else who's able to provide what you need, and you know, life moves on. So I mean, I feel that there could be multiple people who are soulmates, and they don't necessarily have to be romantic relationships. They could be platonic as well.
So let me give you some pushback. So is that soulmates, or is that kind of just filling out that need spectrum? Because the conversation I've heard in other panels is the 80-20. You know, you only get like 70-80% of what you really want and need in your direct relationship. And so, like I said, to give you pushback, are you just getting that 10 to 20 outside, be it platonic, and in some people, in some cases, you know, emotion or physically, relationally as well? So do you think it's truly like a connection that is not just filling out that little need of that spectrum? You understand what I'm saying?
I think not necessarily so. Because I don't know, this idea of soulmate, because sometimes I feel as though it puts us in a trap in which we're trying to find the one. And sometimes the one can just be the one for now. Not necessarily, I'm just saying, it's not necessarily the one for, you know, the extent of whatever is happening. And sometimes the love fades in one aspect of the relationship. That person could have been the one, and eventually love wanes. And sometimes if over time the relationship, because people grow and evolve, that relationship doesn't serve them anymore. And so it causes them to say, okay, I think it's time to part ways and move on to something else. So I don't know. It's kind of a very, I know I'm really doing a lot here with that, but I mean, the idea of soulmate, it can be a little tricky because it forces people to come up with this,
like a singular
yes, and an
evolution
and an evolutionary way to kind of fantasize this fairy tale that you could only find one person, and if that person is not there, then love doesn't exist for you. So yes, you can love more than once, and just as how we are conditioned for love and connection, we should be very careful that the love that we have is not occurring outside of ourselves, but is happening within us first and foremost. Because I feel as though if we are not having well-rounded, fulfilling lives by ourselves, then there is no way we can enjoy or love someone or have them join or join in a partnership healthily. Because it's like the moment one person gives you attention, when you have not been giving yourself the attention that you deserve, then you're going to latch on to that person for the attention that you've been lacking. And though when that person leaves, you're totally distraught and devastated because you're like, that was my only source. You see what I'm saying?
So you kind of limit yourself, and I can see what you're saying.
And that's where it comes with the codependency, where you're like, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, this is the one, but was it based on attachment, or was it really based on the fact that you actually like this person?
That's a big thing. Some relationships, you don't really like the person, you're really just infatuated in some situations.
But it's fulfilling a need subconsciously that you have lacked the whole time. So yes, to your point about fulfilling emotional needs, that is true, where people may misconstrue what's a soulmate for someone who's just basically fulfilling needs that have been lacking within them.
Interesting point. David, your connection is kind of going in and out. Do you have anything to say to that? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm not for sure what's going on.
Oh, okay. I think you remuted yourself. All right. Well, in the meantime, we're going to highlight some comments. So Karen again says there is a difference between a soulmate and a life partner. Yeah, we hear you. Oh, 1 second. We'll go through the comments, David. So there's a difference between soulmate and a life partner. I'd like you to elaborate more on this, Karen. If you can put it in the comment or cam up, that'd be nice. But that's interesting. Also, it says you can find both in the same person, but it's not necessarily so. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, David, do you have anything on that as well? I think he's having some difficulties again. All right, so we're going to move on to the next part of the show. So clip number 2, it is my fault. So this segment is about the opposite side of the coin, where the ex-husband or the man is talking about his experience in a relationship. So we're going to play that now.
With a divorce, you controlled your life forever. You can't control that.
No, I couldn't. I was
two
bad.
people that involved in divorce, bro.
Yeah, but no, I never talked about this, and I'm glad you guys are asking because I don't mind talking about that. But I was bad. She was awesome. She really was. It was all me. I was just look. We don't need to talk about what I was doing, but I wasn't protecting her and protecting those vows. So sometimes when you live that double life, you get caught up in. So I'm not gonna say it was her. It was all me because she was. Look, she did exactly what you're supposed to do. Gave me beautiful kids, take care of the house, take care of corporate stuff. It was just all me. Sometimes when you make a lot of mistakes like that, you can't really come back from that. But as I get older and dwell on situations, I can honestly say it was all me.
Are there things from that time you would change? And do you believe if you changed them, you'd still like to be married, or you still like to be in that position where you could be with your kids and, like Channing said, could control those type of things?
The best feeling for me was coming home and hearing 5, 6 different voices. Don't matter if I missed 15 free throws and we lost. They don't care about that. Dog man's home. Like we used to play something called Dog Man. As soon as I come in, I turn into a wild dog and I chase him and bite him. I just used to like get him and act like I'm biting him. And
Dog man.
yeah, and they used to love that. And look, I was just being greedy.
All right. So yeah, you heard the clip. That was Shaq, the Hall of Famer Laker legend, but he talked about messing up in his marriage and the things that he regrets, the things that he missed out on or is missing out on, the experiences with his children and taking accountability for his actions. So we can talk about the things that were alleged, which was infidelity. So a question I have for this segment to start off is, can we forgive cheating, emotional or physical? So before you answer, Mikhail, we've got another guest. We want to bring her up on this stream. Welcome, Kris. Welcome to the show. So did you get to hear the video?
Yes, a little bit.
So we'll let you lead off with that one, the segment with SHAQ. Can you forgive cheating, physical or emotional?
I think just on that question, as far as forgiveness, I definitely think that forgiveness of things is possible, but the biggest thing I'd say with infidelity is being able to rebuild trust in someone.
True. All right. Mikhail, any points on that?
Yes, I definitely agree with Kris. I feel that anybody can forgive. It is possible to forgive, but that doesn't mean that the other party who has been the receiving end of the transgression would be in a capacity to reconcile.
True.
So yes, you definitely can forgive, but that does not mean that there would be an automatic reparation of the
trust
of the trust or of the relationship in general or of anything, because a lot of times I feel or I think people should practice is to forgive freely, yes, but it's for themselves. And then whatever happens after that, if they feel as though I am in a capacity to go ahead and try and repair this with new terms and conditions, then that's fair.
True.
But if they are not in a capacity to endure that, then they are within their right to say, I am not willing to proceed with this relationship any further.
That's fair. Like you said, the forgiveness aspect is for the person, and you can't rush that process as well because you don't know the hurt that they're experiencing on that end. Which is a fair point, because he also said that he didn't protect his vows, which is interesting that he said that, because again, to go to the top of the conversation, where we live in a social media sneaky link hookup culture. So the fast life is encouraged, unfortunately, nowadays. And he admitted that he got caught up. He didn't protect his vows and his marriage. So we can move into our next question, and that is, what are the costs when a relationship ends? What are some things that you can, they can be tangible or, unforeseen as well? We can start us off, Mikhail, this time.
Costs. There are a lot of, you could say there are a lot of costs in the sense that if you as a person have built trust, it doesn't matter how long the relationship has been. If you've built a certain level of trust, that when the relationship ends, the fact that it ended based on you not holding up your end of the bargain, that is a cost in and of itself. Another cost could be financial, in the sense that, you've built things together, and now this is something now that has to be equally distributed between both parties. The idea of relational costs, the kind of heartbreak that not only you've induced on yourself, but also on the other person who possibly in their mind was like, I did everything that I was supposed to do. What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? How did this end? So kind of like from their aspect out of the blue.
True.
And so there are a lot of costs to that. But I also would like to preface to say that the main cause of infidelity, in my opinion, is somewhere along the line, there was a disparity in communication in which one or both parties' needs were not being met.
Mm-hmm.
And because no one was free to communicate that, hey, as my partner, this is how I'm feeling, and this is where I am not feeling that my need is being met from you, which is definitely needed, although I feel as though it's important that they're able to meet those needs by themselves. But it's also helpful if the partner, if I'm in a partnership, that you're able to supply that from time to time. So if I'm feeling that there is no need from you being fulfilled on that front, then they're like, oh, this is my opportunity to get it somewhere else. And so it's opening the door where if someone from the outside is saying, hey, I'm able to give you this need, they're like, oh my God, I've been craving this. And so without a drop off, you know, at the drop of a hat, they've given in. And so that's another conversation. I think that's a deeper conversation we have to delve into regarding the idea of infidelity and how a relationship ends, has the difficult conversation of, honey, this is what I'm feeling right now. I'm not being able to have my needs met through you in this way. And this is how you can help. A lot of that could have been prevented if that conversation had been brought up as well. So that's another cost.
Go ahead. Let me just drop in this one infographic real quick. I don't know if you can see it as detailed on your end, but I'll read part of it. It says top 3 causes of divorce. This is according to Owen Law, the divorce firm. So number 1, commitment. Number 2, arguments. That can be communication. And then number 3, finances. So yeah. Like you were saying, there are different causes or things that lead to divorce. Communication and is one of the top ones as well. Kris, you can go and give your points.
This one is tripping me up for some reason, but
Okay.
I think a cause probably is security, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and possibly stability. If, you know, being in a 2-person household, if you're a parent, having, you know, 2 parents in the home, and just that support, the emotional support and that day-to-day support. And actually something that you said, Mikhail, I kind of thought about as far as some of the causes of infidelity. I also think about just personal responsibility. And I think especially kind of going off of celebrity, for example, how sometimes I think just having access to anybody you want and taking that, having the personal accountability and maybe maturity in some cases to set boundaries.
True. David, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I hear me.
All right. Anything on that? What did you get to see the video at all?
I did. Yeah, I saw the video.
Good.
Yeah.
So what are some costs when a relationship ends?
Well, what I would have to say is basically when relationship ends, basically it costs everything that you put into it. So it costs time, it costs energy, it costs strength, it costs, you know what I'm saying? There's a mental wear and anything else that's been placed into this. So if you guys built a business together, well, that business is gonna suffer. If you guys built a home together, that home is gonna suffer. If you built a family together, you had kids and things like that, well, it's gonna affect the children. So, and a lot of times people, this is something that actually comes up a lot because you have relationships that go for long periods of time and they split up and there's that wondering, well, it's been 2 months, it's been 3 months. And, you know, people on the outside looking in may feel like that should be over with by now. You should be past that by now. Or even the person that was in the relationship that left their relationship, it's 2-3 months later, 4 or 5 months later, and you're still wondering, why does this still bother me, or why does this still, cause problems, or you may have issues with the next relationship that you try to go into. And the fact of the matter is, if you put 5 years into a relationship, well, guess what? When you break the relationship, that's 5 years that you have into that. You're not going to get over that in a couple of months. And unfortunately, the next person that jumps in line, is going to possibly feel some hurt from that. So it's very, very important that when you find yourself at a relationship you take that time to work on you before you go looking for the next thing, because you're going to have some things you have to deal with. The relationship costs exactly what you put into it.
Good points. Very good points. So yeah, I'll add that he had made it a point that, at least for I could see for him, one of the things that he regrets missing out on is that family experience. For some people, that's a big thing. So for him to express that as one of the things that he missed, apart from his wife as well, shows that sometimes we don't realize how far-reaching our temporary, lapse in judgment or whatever, the cheating or whatever our situation is, can affect things beyond us. So he can say he misses the kids interacting with him, but also conversely, it can be the reverse. The kids can say, "Oh, dad's not in the home," or "Mom's not in the home," as they used to, because growing up with two people in the house, and then 5-10 years into your life they're no longer together, you're going over for the weekend over there, or you're only seeing the other parent for a period of time, supervised unsupervised visits. That energy is different, because the interaction is really fractured in a sense too, because it's that unity, or like you said earlier, Mikhail, that foundation, it's not sure, because the consequences, or that cost you have to pay for your actions, unfortunately. All right, so we've got some comments. Very, very good points, everyone, so far. So we have Justin again. He says, "It takes a long time to build trust and only a moment to destroy it. Forgiveness is possible, but forgetting is not. Once the trust is gone, I don't believe it's possible to be rebuilt." I would say you can. It can take a lot of work, and it takes two people to want to put it together. Is it perfect? No, because I would look at it kind of like glass. Once it's broken, technically you can put it back together. Will it look the same? Will it hold water or liquid the same? No, but it's going to take like some scarring. When you put those pieces back together, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot more effort than if it were a brand new glass just coming off the shelf. So I understand your point, but just to give a little pushback,
I would say it depends on the magnitude of the trust being broken. It could be based on the magnitude, because in some cases, again, what can be a breach of trust for one person may not necessarily be a breach of trust for another. And depending on depending on how the couple comes together and have these mutual agreements, then we can see how that can be, of a very high level or of a very low level on the spectrum. Another thing too is, if both people are willing to work on it, then they need to abide by the new terms and conditions, as we say, of how are we going to operate moving forward, and through changed behavior. Again, so once we've had the establishment of, okay, this is what we're going to do, we're going to be able to still move forward with this. What happens after that? Are we seeing changed behavior over time, in which that ends up being now the blueprint in which I'll be able to say, you will be able to regain that trust. So it is possible, but it definitely does take time. And then, of course, just like you say, it takes a long time to build and only a moment for it to be destroyed. So yes, it can be rebuilt, but then, of course, that needs to be the changed behavior involved in order for that to be regained.
All right. We've got another comment from him. He says, "Forgiveness is for the person holding the grudge, the person that was betrayed. That person is the only beneficiary of that forgiveness. It's for them to move on emotionally, to let go of resentment." Carrion says, "Yeah, I agree, Justin, because once my perception of the person changes, that's it. It's done." Oh yeah, what's that song? "When a woman's fed up, ain't nothing you can do about it." That's true. Yeah, some people, yeah, cheating is a deal breaker for some people. And then Justin came back and says, you don't just lose the time lost, you also lose everything that you had planned for the future. That's true. Yeah, that is true. So this actually leads perfectly into our next question. What are non-negotiables in a relationship? Requirements versus nice to have. But yeah, go ahead and I'll let David, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'll let you lead off this question. Non-negotiables in a relationship. I think you're muted. You're muted. Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay, non-negotiables in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that varies from person to person, first off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things that need to be thoroughly discussed before that relationship gets very far. Especially before you say you're gonna get married. But we know the basic one. The basic non-negotiables is, you don't want the cheating to go on. Things that happen in the relationship should stay in the relationship versus being discussed with the girlfriends and the this, that, and the other, because all that
Group
does is
chat.
cause problems. Right. All that does is cause problems. Um, you know, um, and really just honestly and truthfully showing a similar level of respect. Basically, don't do those things that you wouldn't want done to you, like golden rule. You treat others as you treat yourself. But in a relationship, it's the same thing. Treat me in the way that you want to be treated. So you wouldn't want me talking about you behind your back. Don't be with your girlfriends talking about me behind my back. You know what I'm saying? Think about me, whenever you're doing your this, that, and the other, and it should be the same likewise. So, not for some of my personal must-haves. See, I've been married for several years. My wife cooks. I cook as well. But the fact that
Uh-oh.
she
Okay.
know, yeah, I cook as well. I cook as well. Definitely. I'm a Southern boy. I'm from South Louisiana, born, raised. So, I cook. But my wife
Good.
cooks. And so that's definitely one of those things that's a plus for me. I don't think I could be with a woman who has no skills at all in the kitchen. I think if that would, for me, that's a non-negotiable. Like, you gotta be able to burn a little bit because I do it. But when
Okay.
I work, I want to be able to come home and, what I'm saying, and eat. You know, um, you know, basic things. Of course, there's bedroom activities and stuff like that. We'll keep it PG for YouTube. But um, I mean, but a lot of the things are common. It's for my. I may not be. I don't know if I would say I'm the typical male or not typical male, but for the biggest part, for guys like myself, it's not I'm not very difficult to please. It's the basic things.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? A comfort to rest my head, which means not all that stress when we're in the house, not all this fussing and arguing, this, that, and the other. We can talk and we can conversate, we can discuss things, but you don't have to do all this yelling and stuff at me for no reason. Cause I'm a talker. We can talk these things
mm.
through. That's fine. Cooking, like I said, bedroom stuff, like I said, and just being mindful, loving and caring, because that's what I need. I need some love, some care, some attention, and sometimes I need some peace and some quiet. Simple as
Okay.
that for me.
All right. Fair enough. Um, Mikhail or Chris, want to go next?
I'll go. I want to ask, are your non-negotiables the same thing as your deal breakers?
Yeah, you can say that because it's things that you're not going to bend on, essentially, or you'd be
Okay.
hesitant to bend on. Yeah.
All right. So your non-negotiables are the ones as an individual you would say these are the things I am willing to abide by for the preservation of myself while
Mm,
I'm with someone else, right? That could involve, okay, I want someone who respects my time and my alone space.
mm-hmm.
um that means I want someone who is a non-smoker. That means I could say I want someone who there are these things that you've put in place to say, okay, if I see these things, they alert me to say this may not be my proper match,
Mm,
unless there are some things that the other party is willing to compromise on for the benefit of saying, okay, we definitely want to pursue this, and this is something that I am willing to change, then outside of that, let's say it's something that you would, when you enter into a relationship, to make the exception to the rule, that you would be setting yourself up for anxiety and depression if those things don't follow through. Right?
Understood,
so
yeah.
again, you have no one to blame but yourself, because you have entered into those spaces knowing, unless you've had the conversation, knowing that these are your non-negotiables. So these are your requirements. It's not something that's nice to have. These are your requirements.
Fair
right?
point.
So this is how I would like to be treated. This is how I would like to be welcomed into this partnership. This is how I would like to operate while we are together. And so outside of that, it will not bring me peace of mind. And therefore, I cannot be my most authentic self within the confines of this relationship. That's why they are non-negotiables. Because at the end of the day, you want to enter into a relationship knowing that I'm at peace with these things. And if nothing else changes, I know that I'll be okay with it.
Good point. All right. So Kris, you have next?
Yeah. So kind of like you said, David, of course, those baseline things, as far as like infidelity and things like that. And of course, feeling a sense of trust, or having a sense of trust and feeling respected. I know for myself, I don't always have specific non-negotiables, more so than how a person makes me feel. And what I mean by that is I need to feel safe with the person and feel like I am able to be vulnerable and also to be understood. And sometimes that can look different, but if there is not a sense of understanding from the other person and I'm not able to be vulnerable, then those are usually really big indicators for me that I can't be in a successful relationship with someone.
Got you.
I wanted to add a little tip here. Well, not necessarily a tip, but let's look at an example. Let's put it like that. Let's look at the idea of someone whose non-negotiable is I only would date someone who wants a monogamous relationship. There are people who are okay with polyamorous relationships. There are people who are in deception mode, where they will court someone who knows that they want a monogamous relationship, but inside they want a polyamorous relationship. They enter into these spaces. They've been dating for a few months, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it morphs into, oh, we want to do something new to spice up the relationship.
Open it up.
And we want to open it up. We want to bring someone in and blah, blah, blah. When the other person is like, whoa, where is this coming from? I thought this was just me and you.
Yeah.
Which that actually reminds me, I was thinking about it, is just similar values. So like, do you want a family? Do you want to travel or relocate? Like you said, are you open to being poly? What's your ideal type of relationship dynamic?
And so these things must be discussed before you even say, okay, and I mean, nothing is wrong with testing the waters out. That doesn't mean you have to enter into exclusivity just yet. However, these are the things that should be brought to the fore before you are able to say, okay, we are able to put a title on it and officially call this, that, and the other. And so with your non-negotiables, it is very important that you know what they are. If you're not sure what they are, it's okay to experiment, but you may end up falling, by the wayside, and that's all right. That's how we learn. But at the end of the day, once we get a greater understanding for ourselves and how we're able to operate and move into these relationship spaces, then we are able to right away say, okay, we know that this is not going to be a good fit. Okay, we're like, okay, we can see where we can make some compromises. And in other cases, you'll be like, you're able to enter into that with a peace of mind and saying, oh, this is going to be something that can potentially be a beautiful thing.
Good points all around. So my take on this is, well, from a landscape aspect, I've my position is that sometimes people confuse requirements and nice to have. So they may put them in the wrong sections, my opinion, my position. So for me, my non-negotiables or things I'd consider is religion, handling of finances, the want for children. Because sometimes you may meet somebody who's on paper, or not even on paper, in person, perfect, but they don't want kids, or different religion, or they don't cook, right, David? They don't cook. So like everyone said on the panel, you have to have that open dialogue prior. And also, what's your end goal? To go back to the previous questions we did, lifestyle versus longevity. Sometimes we get caught up in the moment. And so, like you said earlier, Mikhail, sometimes the person we're with or the situation is good for right now, but long term, they may not even align with what you want for yourself or for your future. So the conflict comes in um, deciding when to step away from that person or when to have that conversation to say, hey, we need to go in this direction, and how can we make sure that this ship is steered clearly or efficiently in this direction. So yeah, in the non-negotiables, nice to have those things. It's a major conversation because that can lead to divorce or to stepping out if somebody's not fulfilling that need physically, intimately in a relationship, or if you're somebody who likes to travel and this person's a homebody and you guys have conflicts about finance. Why are you always spending? Oh, I like to buy things that are for you or for the house, or those conflicts are real things. So like everyone said, those non-negotiable conversations need to be had. So let's highlight some comments real quick, and then we'll go into the last couple of questions. We've got Justin, major contributor today. Appreciate that. Non-negotiable. Don't trash talk me to your family and friends. Want to be mad? Fine. When you trash me to your family, you're bringing them into a relationship that they have no business there. That is a major thing in some relationship interactions, because if I'm with somebody or we have a conflict and you bring that outside of the house, when we resolve it, they may hold that grudge against me or you. And so well, look at the last time I heard about that. The energy is off in the room. You got to read the room. So yeah, that's a major point. You can't bring your business and air it out outside, because when people see that dirty laundry, they're going to remember. Some people don't forget that. We got Gabrielle. She says the non-negotiables are subjective and should be discussed openly and honestly when the relationship is progressing seriously. Personally, financial stability, being ambitious and respectful. Yeah, that's true. Finances is a major thing that plays in the downfall of some relationships, as we saw in the first clip where she left her spouse because he just wasn't making enough for her. Ambition, also being complacent for some people is a major thing. They want to always be seeing progress in their partner, and some people are just okay being where they are. I make 50, 60,000 and I'm good. Some people say, oh, now we got to keep progressing every couple of years or change a job and moving the house. That major conversation should be had. Gabby also says, in this society, nothing should be left off the table. Kids, political views. That is major. Sexual expectations. Yep. Because if I'm say night and you're like, yeah, the what do you call it? Compatibility is a real thing with some people. Yes, sex drives or just sexual expectations in terms of creativity, things to try or not try, but that's another conversation. Let's delve into that tonight. We'll put that on the board for another day. So yeah, our last question kind of goes in line with the comments so far. How much input should friends or family have in your relationship? Who wants to lead off?
I would say they can offer support. By all means, offer support. But outside of that, I feel as though we are grown adults.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that should be handled in-house. If you see something that you feel would be in breach of what you may be perceiving as, what we've discussed or what's within our, our vows or whatever, feel free to express that to the parties involved. But again, you should not be hands-on. You should be like the board of trustees. You are able to give your opinion, but you are in no way directly affiliated or having a hand in the going on of the main operation.
Okay.
One of the comments, that first comment about trash talking to friends and family, kind of reminds me of a aspect of this question. As far as input, I think it's also something to consider highly how much information, personal information, that your friends and family have about your relationship to even have input on certain aspects.
That's major. Yeah. I saw a video, I want to say on IG or TikTok, and for that video, it was the wife. She was just berating the husband, and he was like military. She's like, "Oh, whenever he's in the house, he's just always tired, and he doesn't clean up after himself, and the typical conversations." And yeah, that's a true thing. So granted, she didn't bring it to her family, but she brought it to the public, and so people looked at her in a negative light, like, okay, why are you bringing your personal business to social media? And that's another thing nowadays, like everything is brought online that shouldn't be online. But to bring it back to the question with family input, yeah, that's true. Going back to the comment, excuse me, by Justin, is yeah, when you bring it to family, similar to what Mikhail said, you can bring for opinion or suggestions, but the details shouldn't be so intricate to where they view your partner in a different light. Because that can be very detrimental to a relationship, not necessarily you and that person, but also them and the family as well. All right. So David, any input on this last question for the night? How much input should
My
friends and family
input
have?
on this,
Mhm.
my input on this, they should have very very little. Especially once you talk about going into a marriage, the marriage
Mhm.
aspect of things.
Yeah.
Like before everything is done, the priest usually gets up there and says, if anybody has any reason why these two should not be joined, it's off. Like from that point, like you said, from now, like from this point you're on, it should cease. So it's the responsibility of family and friends to do things to help your relationship make it. They should be there with good advice, helpful advice. Once again, if they see something wrong, you can, you would expect to be told if there's something that's seen that's wrong for that's breaking vows. Or if you see me going in a direction that you know is the wrong way, then okay, tell me, I shouldn't be doing this or doing that. It's okay for you to check me on that. But as far as actually getting involved into the situation, nah, family and friends should not have that kind of involvement. And once again, it goes back to what you're doing prior. If you're not telling your friends and family all these details and all these little things about your relationship before, then there wouldn't be nearly as many issues for them to have and things to talk about later. So it's kind of like you practice before for what you want. And yeah, I've seen lots of families have lots of trouble because of I've seen lots of marriages have trouble because of family and friend input and family and friend involvement.
Yep, that can happen. All right. So now let's get to the wrap up, the solutions segment. So if you guys could give 2 to 3 things on how to keep a relationship alive, thriving.
Okay.
I
Well, I'll go ahead and
personally,
jump in real quick and go ahead. Go ahead. Ladies
okay.
first. Ladies first.
I was just gonna say I really enjoy the aspect of continuing to put yourself in positions to get to know each other on deeper levels. So whether that's doing new things together or making sure that you're always having conversations about, how you feel or what you're thinking and staying present with the other person.
Fair point. David, you were saying?
Cool. So I'm gonna say, one, be 100% authentic from the jump. Let that person know who you are from the beginning, and expect the same from them. And you have to know what you want to accept and not accept. And so that'd be my first. The second, communication is everything. So you have to talk. You have to be open, and not just open to speak, but willing to listen, which is something that just automatically that's a go. Um, and I'm not gonna. I'll leave it at that because I'll let somebody else say something before I take everybody else's ideas. Go ahead.
All right, Mikhail.
I feel the number one thing to keep a relationship alive is to create a forum between a couple, which is an open space to say anything and everything to each other. That open door policy works wonders in allowing people to express their deepest thoughts, their deepest concerns, and it's without judgment. And I think we always enter into the space with this level of judgment because we fear being rejected, we fear of getting a negative reaction. But if we are entering into a space of healthy relationships, I feel as though this open door policy will allow couples to get a better understanding of what each person is enduring and how best they can support each other. That's one. Two, is this idea of what I would call weekly check-ins. Weekly check-ins is a way of us to sit together as a couple and just say, hey, I want to know, did I meet your needs this week? How can I better support you? What do you feel I was doing? What did you like? What you did not like? How can I improve? And these check-ins work wonders instead of leaving things to chance and leaving things to, for each other to mind read, which, we already know that never works well in relationships. No one knows what each other is thinking. So that check-in would definitely create this idea that, hey, they really care about us and the relationship, and they really want to know, how I'm doing and how this relationship can continue to thrive. Another thing is keep dating each other. Like, be open to feel young, feel as though the relationship is just blooming, just blossoming. And it doesn't have to be extravagant. It could be as simple as, these deep conversations. They have these box questions where, they ask, provocative questions or thought-provoking questions of, other people's relationships or relationship types. And it gets to delve into how you possibly have evolved as a person, because how you think when you first met each other may not be how you think 5 years down the line. And if you actually do these check-ins and these dates, you'll get to see, how has my baby evolved over time with these schools of thought. So, there are so many ways in which we can keep it alive. But if two people are willing to do the work, if both persons on each end is willing to do the work, then that relationship will definitely be alive.
Great points. So
Where my notebook at? Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Johnson.
I gotta get a notebook for you. I gotta get a notebook for you.
All right. Anyone other has been any other points on the topic? Resolutions. That's it. So yeah, from what I gathered from everyone's conversation was be authentic, have an open space, balance your outside influences, family, friends, what you express to them, continue to date, weigh the cost of your actions, be it the temptation for outside intimacy or having that vent to somebody on the outside. Got to weigh those different costs, and definitely balancing the future you want for yourself and the relationship as well. Is it in line, the things that you guys are conversating on and building towards as well? Those are all things that you have to consider and definitely continue to check in on a weekly basis if possible to have that relationship flourish. So yeah, does anyone have any closing arguments or points for the night before we close it out?
I think I'd have one quote, and this is from a good YouTuber by the name of Herbie Revales. We are all in a constant state of practice, and we cannot fail when we are in a constant state of practice.
Very good point. That's very good.
Great point.
Very good point. All right, so we're going to look at our comments to close out the night. Our last one is from Carrie. To keep the relationship alive is to communicate well with each other and to keep dating each other. That's true. You got to keep it fresh. Got to keep it fresh. So yeah, I just want to highlight some other comments from earlier in the night. Again, Justin, thanks for tapping in. He says Instagram was a curse. That was what he brought up earlier. That's a very good point, but you got to balance lifestyle versus the longevity and aspirations for the relationship. Gabrielle brought up nothing should be off the table: kids, political views, sexual expectations. So yeah, communication is one of the major things that I gathered from our conversation today, and setting the expectation within a reasonable time frame as well, because sometimes one person may be good for now but not good for forever. So I'm gonna give us a little bit of comedic relief for this. I don't know if you guys can see the picture on the screen. So communication and compromise. So in that first clip, you see when your happiness comes first. So he wanted the burger, she wanted the ice cream. So she said, let's have the burger. And on the other clip, it says, breakfast in bed on a Tuesday. I don't know who you are or what you did with my husband, but you can stay. So yeah, just appreciating each other and definitely keeping it fresh and communication open. So yeah, definitely want to thank all of our panelists tonight. David, Mikhail, Kris, thank you all for tapping in. Thank you to everyone who commented, everyone who watched on the live broadcast, everyone who is watching the restream. I am Kris, your host. Thank you for lending me your ear. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below, like the video, drop a timestamp so we can continue to discuss the various topics that were brought to you today. And until next time, peace.